I'm Matt. Wait, I'm Manning. Crap. What? Ah! I'm sorry, man. It's been a long day.
I thought we were doing a bit or something, but
No, we
okay.
weren't. That's literally just my brain crapping out on me. I apologize. I am Manning. I am not Matt.
And I'm Matt, not Manning.
I'm so sorry, dude. It's been
Fine.
this was I'm going to be transparent. This was originally going to be yesterday. Actually, it was going to be Sunday, and then it was going to be Tuesday, and now it's going to be Wednesday. And who's the guy here who had to push it both times? This guy, not Matt. Matt's been on top of his game.
That's because Manning has stuff to do. I don't. So.
It's just work. It's just work. That's all.
Yeah.
It's just
we get it. We understand.
But regardless, thank you for joining in our 4th episode of the James Bond retrospective, where we're talking about probably next to Lazenby, the shortest tenure for Bond that we have had in Timothy Dalton with his 2 films. Matt, are you excited to talk about Dalton?
Yeah, I am, because as you said, he had one of the shortest runs as Bond, and so there's what I'm trying to say. I don't think he's like. I'm trying to find my words. It's just because he wasn't around as long as some of the other Bonds. A lot of people, I just feel like, don't talk about him a lot because they don't feel like they have a lot to talk about. So, which is unfortunate, because I think he's a great Bond.
And I'm going to add to that by saying that, as you know, if you watch the other episodes, you know this is my first time ever watching the Timothy Dalton Bond films. So I was kind of excited, trepidatious, because I hadn't heard much about the Dalton movies. Like, people don't really, you're right, Matt, they don't talk about it, which is kind of weird, because after Dalton, it's just like this six-year gap or something in between the Bond films, which I'm pretty sure is the longest gap in between Bonds.
I think you're right. I can't.
Because, yeah, everyone else was kind of like right after another. And like, it was kind of like, and I was reading an article because I wanted to do some research, because we want to get into depth more, don't we, Matt? But I find this to be fascinating. Oh, no, it's because we could have had more Bond. We could have had more Dalton. But sadly, lawyers and
you know the story. See, I was saving this story for next week's episode, but sure, we can talk about it here.
Save it. We'll give a little tease.
I mean, yeah, so essentially Dalton was not supposed to be done after 2 films, but legality things kept them from making a Bond movie. And by the time they got around to doing it, Dalton just wasn't really interested in doing it anymore. And we'll get into why one of the movies after his time as Bond is interesting because of that.
Which is interesting, which is really sad, because and we'll get into kind of like the general gist of our thoughts of, I loved these 2 films. I love them to pieces. They are, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have had as big of a tonal shift, and probably never will have as big of a tonal shift as we have from Roger Moore into Timothy Dalton.
Probably not. I mean, the shift from Diamonds Are Forever to that is not Diamonds Are Forever to
from Connery
Live and Let Die.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that is a shift, but Diamonds Are Forever, as we talked about, it's got its silly moments. Whereas here they really kind of it was a 180 from View to a Kill, which was, very silly, very dumb. We talked about it last week. I don't believe anyone.
Yes, it was.
I believe they intentionally made it silly. And then, to go to Living Daylights, which is very dark and still, though, it has some fun to it. But it is, it's a big tonal shift from Moore's final outings.
Oh, it was a whiplash for me when I first saw it, because I knew it was going to be darker, but I didn't know how dark we were getting into, Matt. Like, to the point to where I had to like literally had to pause it and just kind of be like, wow, okay, we go from clown makeup from Octopussy up until where we are today, where probably in one of the darkest moments in the brutal kind of like bloodbath that is License to Kill. We'll say that, because there are some really dark deaths that really transpire in that one. It's just, to me, a wild dichotomy between the two eras of Bond.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know why I was about to say Nolan. I don't like Christopher
Nolan? No, he ain't here.
Dalton, it's interesting that he is, with his first film, that's the end of James Bond in the Cold War, because of course, by the time License to Kill comes out, Gorbachev and the Berlin Wall, all that stuff is coming down, and the Cold War is kind of on its way out, and James Bond was shifting. So it is interesting because, you know, James Bond was kind of born into the Cold War, and we talked about that through a lot of Connery and even Moore's films, you know, the heavy focus on the Navy aspects of Bond, which still carry over into these films. They're still calling him Commander in both of the films. Even in License to Kill, they haven't gotten rid of that. By the time we get to Brosnan, that's completely done and gone with. I can't think offhand. It's been a hot second since I've like watched all of those movies, but I can't think offhand of like a moment when they call him Commander. They might. I could be wrong. They might. Don't quote me on that. But it's not nearly as focused on as during the Cold War, because we weren't at war, even though Cold War wasn't really war. So it is interesting. Right. I think that does sort of affect the tonal shifts of these movies as well. It's just where the zeitgeist of moviegoers was at the time. And you're muted. Oh, okay. I would talk to the chat, but there's nobody in the chat to talk to. Whoops. I literally have nothing to say. I really apologize, people. Because I don't know where we're going from here. So, but 1987 is when the first movie came out.
Yes, it is. There we go. That's better. All right. Sorry.
You're fine.
It might be time to get a brand new microphone, because I did nothing and it said I had disconnected. So that's the beauty of technology. As you can see, I'm upgrading my computer. It's time for that, because it needed some love, as Matt had known in the past. We needed some love to that computer, because it's been doing some things. But no, you make a great point, and I think that's really evident in the Dalton films, because he provides a Bond that I think is infinitely more grounded. And it's fascinating that John Glenn literally went from A View to a Kill into The Living Daylights as director, because they are two very different, and they kind of show, I guess, some kind of weird.
Yeah, but John Glenn also directed For Your Eyes Only, so it's not like.
No, you're right. Like it's just,
and as we talked about in the last episode, like it's very clear where they wanted to go this route from the beginning of the 80s with For Your Eyes Only, but because Moore stuck around and had control and wasn't really a fan of that stuff, they didn't get to continue it. So right. it almost feels like The Living Daylights is the movie he wanted to follow up For Your Eyes Only with. And we talked about where our friend James on Twitter, when you were talking about this, how like there's an alt universe where Timothy Dalton stars in For Your Eyes Only, and we get an 80s just full of his movies. So, you know, who knows? But yeah, he's I said it when me and Malcolm did our episode of the Fandom Podcast on James Bond. I consider Dalton to be, he's not my favorite, but I consider him to be the best actor to portray Bond, because I think he, for a lot of reasons that we'll get into, I think the darkness, which has always been there since the books, because, I mean, He
Yeah.
has a license to kill. Like, he's a murderer. For as
What
much,
gave
like,
that away?
well, because he's a spy in the traditional sense of like World War II stuff, which
Right.
obviously Ian Fleming and his cousin Christopher Lee were spies, and unfortunately, you weren't just doing espionage; you also sometimes had to take care of business, and so that's who James Bond is. And I think, I think sometimes that aspect of the character, because it becomes fun popcorn action movies.
Right.
Like, I think, and we'll get to this in 2 episodes, a lot of the Craig stuff does that too, to where it's just like, particularly by that time, like, guys mowing down people in action movies have, like, by that point, the Rambo series had like how many entries. Schwarzenegger and Van Damme and Seagal had how many movies. So it's kind of par for the course. But when you really look at, like, James Bond is like a contracted killer. Like, yeah, he's spying and doing stuff, but also part of his job is like, you may have to murder people. And I think Dalton pulls it off really well. And again, we'll get more into this when we talk about Craig, but because they are the darkest interpretations of the character, what I like is, one, I think is better spy because he at least blends into a crowd. Like, he's a good looking guy, but like, you could see losing him in a crowd, which is kind of what a spy should do. And he's also having fun. Like, there's a lot of moments where he's having fun because he knows he's James Bond and he's going to be fine. So a lot of those things, I think he's probably the best one we've gotten so far. I don't know if you feel that way. If you feel like me, I know we still got 2 actors to rewatch all their films before you can really.
This is the thing.
Say
I
that.
Don't. Yeah, I don't think anyone is bad as Bond. I don't think there's any bad actor. Even Roger Moore, God bless him, he had a particular style that he did.
I mean, like I said, I really like For Your Eyes Only. I really like him in that movie. So I will agree. Every Bond has their moments.
I'll take it, I guess. I'll take that.
Well, no, not in a bad way, because like it's true. It's like, because for as many good things as Roger Moore had, he had some bad stuff too.
Oh, yes, he did.
As all the Bonds do. Even like the ones that I like, Connery and even Dalton have things where I'm like, But I think Moore is just the most guilty of that, but not fully his fault. A lot of that sometimes comes down to the writing, but not really him. But regardless.
So let's get into the very first Dalton film, which came out how many years between totally forgot, A View to a Kill? It's about,
I think A View to a Kill is 85 and this is 87. So
okay, so it was 2.
Yeah, 2 years.
It was 2. So our next one in the grand scheme of things was The Living Daylights.
That's a great poster, and that's not the US poster. That's the European one. The US poster is not really that good, but leave it up to the Brits to be able to market Bond properly.
I know, right? Who would have thunk that? Crazy. So The Living Daylights kind of starts off with, I think, one of my favorite cold opens.
Oh, okay.
From a Bond movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not totally divorced from the actual narrative. It actually has narrative weight.
Yeah.
But it also kind of shows this is a Bond who is intelligent. He knows what he's doing. He's not goofy. He is serious, but he is kind of also always one step ahead of his counterparts in this case. What's the guy's name? That ultimately
the Russian
dies. No, not the Russian. Not Koskov, the other agent that was there. That was helping.
Oh, I don't remember.
I don't remember his name either. But yeah, they're getting Koskov out of the entire. They're defecting. Wink, wink. Defecting, which we find out later that Koskov is the villain. I love this. One step ahead of everybody, but it felt believable. It felt like he had a plan and it was executed perfectly. It wasn't like, how is he going to get out of this one? And he kind of bumbles his way into it. No, this is a smart Bond, and it sets the tone wonderfully into kind of also, because it's kind of campy. The man's using a pipeline to like shoot and defect into European territory. So it's like, okay.
Which again, that moment does show the fun of Dalton, because
agreed.
When I'm so bad at pronouncing his name, but
Koskov. Koskov.
He's like asking about this, and he's like, we had the best engineers work on this.
Yep.
Oh, so if you've done this several times, actually, you're my first. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
there's a wink and a nod, which I like from his Bond, and also we got other things to where he is not completely cold, because obviously he's supposed to be protecting him, and he finds the other sniper, but he sees it's a woman. But not just that it's a woman, he also sees it's a woman who has not a single clue how to hold a gun. And so he doesn't kill her, which they think at first it's just like, oh, a pretty girl, like you're not going to do that. But he's like,
right.
Which they get into later. It is true. I think that is the interesting thing about both of Dalton's cold opens is they have direct effect on the continuing plot.
Yes, they do. It's not like that weird one that'll always go back to with, I believe, was it Live and Let Die? Not Live and Let Die. It was it was our favorite one, and I can't even remember it now because the names kind of blur together at this point. For Your Eyes Only. Thank you. Where they kill Blofeld and a kind of weird out of nowhere. Like that one kind of to me really rubbed me the wrong way. And it's still weird. It doesn't work. This one works with the narrative and sets up the tone great. And it's probably one of my favorite cold opens because it shows Dalton as Bond, who really kills it right out the gate. And I'm just sad that we don't get more because he blends both. He's not cold, but he's kind of serious when he needs to be. He's not devoid of emotion, because we'll get into the next movie, but his relationship with Felix. Well, is Felix in Living Daylights? He's in Living Daylights. Yeah, I was about to say,
in Living Daylights. He's the one who, remember the girls he gets in the car with, and they take him. What are you trying to do, Bond? Start World War III?
Yes. Yeah,
actually, I'm trying to prevent it, Felix.
Yes, and that's kind of like, and that's one of my favorite parts of the Dalton verse is the banter between him and Felix, this USA and UK
fact that Felix
friendship.
Is back, because as we talked about in the Moore episode, Felix is just like completely, which I don't understand at all. Now I know legality things, but I have to feel like there wasn't a soul out there who was really trying to protect Felix Leiter as an intellectual property, so they couldn't use him in a movie. Like I don't mean that to be mean, but like I don't think anyone is sitting around saying we need a Felix Leiter spin-off. Because
I'd watch it.
I mean, I'd probably watch it too, depending on the actor, but like Felix, his sole point of existence is just supposed to represent the American side of whatever James Bond is doing. And it's really weird that in Moore's movies, when he's doing a lot of stuff in America, Felix Leiter is just nowhere to be seen or heard from. Doesn't make any sense, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed how it starts off and how it kind of moseys along. Great song, also I'll say.
One of my favorite. Yeah, one of my favorite Bond songs, definitely.
I will also say great. Well, this is one detriment that I will give for the Bond villains is that the villains I think are good, but not like great. They're not like iconic level where I'm like, yes, this is they're not like what I put into immediately in mind of like the Blofeld or even Scaramanga or Goldfinger, Dr. No. They're not really iconic. The closest one I think maybe Sanchez, but only because
we'll get into him.
We'll get into him later. But these two,
Joe Don Baker and
whoever plays Whitaker,
Russian,
that guy.
They're not really the best. Whitaker, is that John Rhys Davies? Or am I?
No, that's Pushkin. I love him. Okay. I love him as Pushkin.
See, I'm terrible with names, so
I'm only doing that because I have the cast list right here. It's helping me because there's so many names to remember. So
and
it's not off the top of my head.
Yeah. So, but the villains in this one aren't really the best, and we'll get to Joe Don Baker by the end. Something.
Which I'll say they're not bad.
No,
they're not bad. They're just
they're. I think like we talked about with Julian Glover in For Your Eyes Only, they're not horribly written, but they're just kind of finely written. And it just lucks out that in all the cases you got some pretty solid actors to play them, and so they're able to elevate it. I mean, Khrushchev is played by, which is how, if you watch The Fugitive, you know he's lying already, because spoilers, he lied to Harrison Ford throughout that entire movie, so you already know he's not trustworthy.
It's a liar.
You switched the samples, didn't you?
I've never seen The Fugitive.
You've never seen The Fugitive?
No, I haven't. I've watched Schindler's List so many times that same year, and I've never watched The Fugitive. Ironically,
wait,
I just like depressing.
How old were you in '93?
No, I didn't watch it in theaters. I watched him like on DVD at
the
library.
You said that year. You said I watched.
No, not that. I meant
because they came out the same year. That's why.
Yes, they did. I didn't see it in theaters. What am I, 48?
I'm more just asking because I'm like, why are you watching Schindler's List so many times? You're not that much older than me.
No, I'm kidding.
All right. Well, I ruined that movie for you, but
you've ruined all of it. How could you?
Whatever.
How could you ruin it for me?
But yeah, so we get past the cold opening, which I feel like we should finally get past the cold opening.
Of course.
And for the life of me, I can't remember what happens next. My brain is not working tonight.
Well, remember they're at that house, and then the
they're at the house where they're safeguarding him, and then there's an attack on the house because the milkman gets killed. There's another milkman. Which like how could you do that in today's day and age? What would, I guess, the Amazon delivery guy?
Yes. Good call, man.
Because how could you like, who gets milk delivered now? I mean, I get like my cousin works for
your Amazon delivery,
so I guess
man.
It's not the weirdest thing. Groceries do still get delivered, I guess, but yeah, he also I mean, but you'd have to update his method of killing, because you can't kill someone with AirPods, and who walks around with headphones with wires in them now.
No.
Which the big blonde Russian, who's certainly not one of my favorite henchmen in a Bond movie. He's just so plain.
He is literally
He's so much like the blonde guy in Free Eyes Only. Like, he's there to be a physical threat to Bond, but there's just no fun. There's you miss the days of Jaws, to where he was a henchman, but he was a fun henchman. He had some personality to him. You liked seeing him. These guys, it's just like, Bond is gonna fight him. Bond is gonna beat him, but there's no fun to it.
No, there is no fun, and that's I guess
to an end.
Which is interesting, because I still find these Bond films, especially The Living Daylights, is still fun. The movie itself is still fun, but the villains don't really. Even Whitaker's like big old action, like blah 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 blah. I'm gonna do the arms dealer stuff over here, blah blah. Like, it's trying to be fun, but it's kind of annoying also at some points.
I don't know if that was the direction, or if that was Joe Don Baker. It wasn't he was doing I don't know if you haven't seen Fugitive, you've seen Congo, which I'm bringing up. I'm going to be real upset, but he's playing his role in this film very much like he plays his role in Congo, which is just that same like Midwestern, well, we gotta find the diamonds out there. Yeah, he's certainly not one of my favorite Bond villains either. But thankfully, they recast him in Brosnan's movies, so it's okay. Spoilers, he comes back as a completely different character.
I totally forgot that was the case until you just mentioned it right now.
Yeah, Joe Don Baker. Yeah. Yeah. So there's that attack, which then leads to, well, now they gotta go find this guy.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Bond has been trying to figure out who the would-be sniper was, which I really like. I don't know the actress' name, haven't helped me, but I really liked her as Moneypenny in these movies. I think the banter she has with Dalton is really good. It goes back to the Connery stuff, to where it's like
Caroline Bliss. That's the actress's name. She did really good.
Like, look, if they weren't workmates, very possible Moneypenny and Bond would have made change. It's possible.
It worked. I will quickly add that they have the same chemistry that Sean Connery and whatever Moneypenny's actress's name was originally, but Thank you. They had the same chemistry that they had early on, and I really like that. And I wish she was in more. Obviously, she's not. Her last one was License to Kill.
And again, it's a similar thing I like, to where it's flirtatious on both sides, which is fun. It's not just like, because again, that's, the danger you run into with doing this stuff is, particularly reviewing these movies in 2022, is like the creepy guy in the office, to where it's like, you get a sense that, like, if she wasn't interested at all, like,
yeah,
Dalton would leave her alone, but they have fun with it. Lois Maxwell.
Okay, Lois Maxwell.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't.
But no, they're great, and the way she, that girl must have had some sort of hold on you, James. Which then they find out that she is Khrushchev's girlfriend.
Yes.
And they're like,
Kara Milvoy.
Yeah. And he realizes he starts to kind of figure out that, she wasn't actually going to kill him, of course. So he goes to try and find her. At the same time, the KGB also find her. I believe it has to be the KGB.
Yes, it's the KGB. Well,
yeah, the KGB.
It's not the KGB, because Pushkin is the head of the KGB. It's like an offshoot or something. Because remember,
it's
the very
Russians.
end,
the Russians find her first.
The bad Russians.
Yeah, the Russians find her first, and he's like, well, fuck. And then he goes home. No. He goes, again, my brain is just mush right now, but
it's okay. That was me.
Eventually, I feel so bad, people. I'm so sorry. But he eventually meets up with her. I forget how he gets her out of there, and she thinks that he's Khrushchev's friend.
Yes, which
was supposed to send for her.
Yes, and I really like that. I really like the actress who plays Kara. Maryam Diabo. I'm butchering her last name probably. I really like her character because she's not one of the Bond girls who. This is interesting because I find a weird dichotomy, because I don't think he's not hammy with the women in the Bond movies as some of his prior Bond counterparts were. But and to me, the love stories are kind of on the back burner. Like, they're incorporated, of course, but they're like one of the least interesting parts of the movies, honestly.
And I think in the case of this one and Pam from the next movie, part of the attraction comes from the fact that they aren't damsels in distress.
Yes.
Like she needs help in this movie, but there's also, particularly by the end, she's also like, I could just go ahead and do this shit on my own. I don't care. Like, that flash forward to the end of this movie, she's the one who pulls the gun out and starts raging in before any of the other guys do. They're all just sitting there like, I don't know what we're doing now. And she's like, well, I do. So that also comes to help with why Bond would be even attracted to him. Even though, as we know in the next movie, he's still thinking about his ill-fated wife.
Which is a good...
trying to fill a hole, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's a good... I like that callback, because I like that as a defining...
We'll get into that next.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry. So he eventually meets up with her. They come up with a brilliant plan to trick the Russians. She goes into the phone booth with
that's great,
with a cello box thing, and they do a great serve. As the trolley is coming, she takes off her coat and hat, puts it on it, gets into his car. They drive off as she's sitting down, so they still think that she's just sitting in the phone booth. But then, of course, she needs her cello. She has to get it because, which comes back to play, is it's a very famous cello. It's a Stradivarius with a name. Of course, all Stradivariuses have a name. And they go and get it, which leads to a great joke. Why couldn't you play the violin? As he's really trying to shove it into the car. And then as they're trying to escape, they get caught. They get figured out, and they have to try to escape in Bond's super cool, badass Aston Martin in this movie that has all the gadgets come to know and love. It has skis, so it skates across the frozen pond as they're being chased. I love when it gets stuck on the guess the wooden house thing and starts sort of like dragging it, and then they bust out right before it blows up. But then the car is going to be destroyed. Or the car is like not really super well drivable. So what does James Bond do? Pulls out that cello and uses it as a sled, which is great. Which is a great moment. It's super fun.
Yes.
And then it's topped off by, handing the passports and saying, "Wave these. We declare nothing except for this cello."
Yeah, and that's the part where the funniness arrives, because it's not goofy. I mean, it's goofy, but it's not like over the top in the sense of like, here's this random thing.
It's goofy, yes, but it doesn't break the movie. It's not like in Man with the Golden Gun with the whole chase scene with the sheriff, where that is just way too over the top, drags on for so long. It doesn't really fit the mood of the movie. Here, it fits the mood. Like, it is fun.
Yes.
It plays with stuff that is set up, that she is a cellist, that she would have this. Yeah. And so then where are they?
Well, remember, they have that, they're in like Vienna. And
they're in Vienna. And she thinks they're going to meet up with him. And then he's like, "Oh, no, I guess he got moved."
Saunders, that was the agent, who kind of dies. He dies tragically, but at the same time, and I think this is also shows the darkness of Bond. He's a lot more vengeful. He's very much like, I'm going to take out.
We're actually going to get up to that fairly soon.
Yeah. So I really like that addition.
Because it is it when they're in Vienna when they go to the opera? I can't remember. I feel like I'm missing a step before they have the sled escape, and then they're in Vienna. I can't remember if that's where they go to the opera and then the amusement park.
Yeah, that is the amusement park. Yeah, that is the opera and the amusement park.
Yeah, and he's going to be meeting up with him. They have I love the quick little moment where he's playing the shooting game and the amusement park guy is just like, "Please stop."
He's like, "Please stop." Yes, please stop. You're taking all my pleasure.
I like it. That's great. Because of course, like Bond, it's actually, that reminds me of a joke in the Stallone movie Copland. It's just a great low moment where the whole thing in the movie is where they are in New Jersey. It's like pretty much the whole town's cops, and so they're having a little carnival, and there's a shooting thing, and the guy is like, it's like, normally if you hit it like 3 times or something, you get a prize. But he's like, if you're a cop, you gotta shoot 5 times. I'm losing all my money here. It's funny little stuff like that. She gets scared by an animatronic that honestly you laugh at, but I'm like, I know myself, if I was walking around, that would scare the shit out of me too.
Yeah. And I will say those little moments really do work, even though the relationships to me, they feel definitely more grounded. I don't always believe them, and we'll get into that when we can talk about the next movie. Okay. But I really do enjoy these small moments of them they're attempting to build as somewhat of a relationship between them. And they didn't always do that in the prior ones. It was very much more of like a lustful action than it was actually love.
Yeah. Because then there's the Ferris wheel moment where he gets them to stop the Ferris wheel, which you have to question Bond. The whole thing is he's supposed to be pretending to be Khrushchev's friend. And clearly Benovas is his girlfriend. So why does she at no point question, like, who's Mr. Steal Your Girl over here? Like, she
Bond
never questions
Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Which is fine, obviously, because, like, look, me and Manning are both men. But it was 1987. I'd be picking Dalton over whoever played Khrushchev as well. I don't blame this girl at all. Hell, dude, Dalton's a pretty good looking guy now. I'd probably still pick him over some other people.
Great. He has a great beard. If you guys watch him on Penny Dreadful, great beard.
You ever seen him in Hot Fuzz? That's my favorite. I love him in Hot Fuzz.
Yes, he is great in Hot Fuzz.
Killer, you got to stop me. Here they murdered Bill Shakespeare. I love that movie. But yeah, but then he's gonna go and meet with the agent who essentially lets them know about John Rhys Davies.
Yep. And then they have to go ahead.
No, continue.
I was gonna say, and then John Rhys Davies is introduced as, I think this is his first appearance as Pushkin of the KGB, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I saw Dalton. So I saw Dalton last, so now I've seen all the Bond films. Woohoo! Correct me if I'm wrong, but Pierce Brosnan, his movies, John Rhys Davies is Pushkin in those other ones, correct?
I can't think offhand.
He is in it.
I know the actor who plays Hagrid is in the movies as a Russian.
Oh,
it's possible. I haven't, honestly, aside from GoldenEye, I haven't watched a lot of the Brosnan movies recently, so I'm looking forward to revisiting them. And as we've shown here, my brain doesn't work. And like I said with Joe Don Baker, they sometimes bring back actors to play completely different characters in these movies, despite the fact that all these Bonds are supposed to be the same person.
And that's why I asked, because I don't know if
they
brought him for another character.
I don't know, especially because he's KGB. And like I said, by the time we got to the 90s, like, making the Russians your villains was a bit lazy. They moved on to the Arabs in the 90s, which is funny here because the Arabs are
exactly.
Oh, how times have changed. Oh,
yeah,
what am I saying? Actually, right now in 2022, the Russians are being the villains. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but the Russians are the villains again. Have you seen Top Gun Maverick?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you really? Oh no! Wow. Okay, you really should. It's a lot of money.
Who's in it?
This guy named Tom Cruise. You know, I think he was in a movie.
Oh, he has a career.
I hope so too. No, he was in Rain Man back in the 80s, I think.
Ah, really?
I haven't seen him much.
Did he play Rain Man?
He played the Rain Man. You know, the Rainmaker, I think was his name, or was that? I don't know.
I don't know where we're going with this.
I don't know. Anyway, at the end of the day,
so
he and Pushkin,
he finds out about that, and then he gets murdered by, again, nameless blonde. Oh, he has a name, but personality-less blonde henchman who sends
who gets murdered?
The big blonde, the milkman guy.
No, you're saying Sanders or Pushkin got murdered? Saunders.
Saunders gets murdered after he has the meeting in a really messed up way. He gets a door completely jammed on him. And then of course Dalton runs back and gets the message on the balloon. And this is where really the first time you really see something that I really like in Dalton, which I think, man, you brought up a little bit earlier, but that fury of Dalton, because he pops that thing and just goes running, and she's like, James, where are you going? And he sees the balloons and he vaults over the hedge and immediately pulls out his gun and almost shoots a child who was just carrying balloons.
Which we do not condone here at Take 3.
No, we do not condone here.
We do not condone that at all.
I hope nobody here condones. But it does sort of show just that fury of, he stops himself, of course, but then of course people go running, and she's like, what's going on? And he's like, we have to leave now. Does she forget her element?
Keeping the facade.
Still keeping the facade, and I think at this point he's like this is getting harder, and eventually this is gonna come to an end, but hopefully by that point I can find this dude and get him back. So now they're in, I honestly forget where they are.
Well, right at this point right now, what transpires is that Pushkin is attempted to be assassinated, and this also shows more of the rage that he has, because this man was ready to ready to kill everyone right there to get what he needed to do, including Pushkin. But ultimately, they align with themselves and they fake Pushkin's death, which comes back into play obviously later, because Pushkin's not actually the bad guy; it's actually Kuskov.
Well, there's a couple of things to where he's kind of he's surveying. He finds out Pushkin. He tracks him down to his hotel room, and then essentially is they essentially make up the plan together that they're going to do this, which is great. Because of course the whole thing is they're trying to murder Pushkin. Because once again, personality-less blonde dude is there to do it, but then
that's what his name
Bond already does it. And he goes out running, which is a great little chase scene. He jumps on the phone or the TV antenna, flings it back in their faces. Very Aladdin-ish, very Indiana Jones-ish.
Yes.
Probably just, which I really like because, of course, I love Indiana Jones. And then, of course,
right.
Wait, I just realized, because I was about to say he gets in the car with beautiful women. You messed up at the beginning of this. The cold opening in this movie was not the tube. The cold opening was the training game when they parachute.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, the cold open was not
because we
that.
missed
totally
one of the best Bond, like James Bond moments when he's on the boat with the girl.
Wait, so what's the cold open for License to Kill? Isn't that the cold open for License to Kill?
The cold open for License to Kill is when they're going after Sanchez, and it's Felix's wedding day.
Oh, another great one. Okay, wow, yeah. For some reason, I forgot that was the cold open. I thought that was the. Okay, well, never mind then. This one does not have the best cold open.
Darn it!
This does not have the best cold open
too. I can't believe we got this far, and then I was like, "That's my brain was just not functioning." I apologize, everybody. But that's
it shows how much It shows how much I guess didn't care. I think the cold open was good, and it was a great introduction to Bond. I will say that.
Oh, it's a Dalton's, yeah, because he's badass throughout it. And then, like I said, he gets that really funny moment where she's like, "Why can't I find any real men?" And then who shows up? But she'll call you Bond. Back. Make it an hour, but it'll make it 2 hours.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay, but in classic James Bond Dalton fashion, he's trying to escape. He finds a car full of pretty girls who ask him if he wants a party. Yes. He tries to pay them off and says, "We can have your own party with this." And then they have a gun to his head, and they know he's James Bond.
Yeah,
which you're like,
CIA
what's going to happen? Ooh. And then he meets Felix. As I talked about before, when he tried to do Bond start World War III. Which then, by this point, we learn he tells Felix, and we also see that it was all set up. It was a squibs that Pushkin was wearing, which is a great moment with his wife, who he's just like, "I'm sorry, dear, but I couldn't tell you. You had to sell it." And so essentially, Bond explains that, like, he's like, "Yeah, Khrushchev is like, he's bad. Like, he's bad, Felix. So we got to go, we got to go deal with this." Then he goes to, where's he go after this? Now my brain is completely fried. He goes to,
I know, I completely did this. I apologize. Well, he goes back to see Kara, and by that time, Kara has already.
Kara drugs him. That's right. Yeah. Kara drugs him because she's already contacted Khrushchev.
Yeah, which got me. I will say got me because I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense because Bond basically lied to her this entire time.
Yeah, and she finds that out, and so she's just like, "Screw you." And so now finally they're with them. He's been captured, and it's kind of just like the villain explains his plan, sort of, to James Bond in classic fashion. And then she sort of starts to realize that, like, they don't care. He doesn't care about her either. They're both going to be sent off.
I will say that's it was a little abrupt, her shift. We basically had a whiplash of she betrayed him, and then it was like, "Oh, wait, and sorry, James, it was right. You were right all along." And it's like, you really abruptly switched over.
You break things off with a girl, they're willing to kill you. I guess that's all it is. Because she's like, totally, after he's just like, take her with him. She's kind of like, "Oh, well, I guess I should kill you too, I guess, huh?" Which, of course, they get into the prison. They have a great little fight. And then there's this other prisoner in the cell who they kindly throw the keys to as they're trying to escape because they're disguised as Russians. They almost get killed if it was not for the guy that they released, who turns out to be like a ruler of like the...
He's the head of the Mujahideen.
And they're like, "Hey, we got the same goal because these guys are," was it opium or I forget what?
Yep, it was opium.
Yeah, opium.
They were selling opium.
They're like, "Yeah, they're selling opium. We're not about that, but if we can figure out a way to where, like, but we also understand that, like, if we just go and destroy this deal, all hell is going to break loose. So we need to make sure that the Arabs think that they've been paid, but also we destroy the opium, which leads to which leads into the final act, which you talk about whiplash from A View to a Kill to Living Daylights. Seeing the weird, stupid, crazy, moving a bomb out on a push train thing to a blimp fight to standing on top of the Golden Gate Bridge to this final act, it's like night and day.
Great.
So first the plan is Bond is sort of disguised as just one of the workers, and they have a bomb that's in the same sort of wrappings as the opium. He's going to plant the bomb on the plane and then leave. But unfortunately, that's not really going to happen. So now he's going to have to, because he pretty much gets found out, they try to shoot him. And this is the moment I talked about, to where the Mujahideen are kind of just like, well, I don't really know this. It's really much of a problem. And she grabs the gun and they're like, yes, oh, what are you doing? Go with her. And so there's huge explosions, big fight. She gets onto the plane in the car. And then, of course, before they're able to fully take off, personality list blonde guy gets on the plane. We get a very cool fight with Bond, where she opens the door, or the cargo door. And open, now they're sort of hanging out. And at any moment, either one of them go falling. The guy starts grabbing onto Bond, realizes that he's holding onto his boot, so he cuts his boot off. That dude goes flying, which is great. And then we got, I don't remember, what was the one-liner?
Wait,
he got the boot or something? Boot? I believe that was the one-liner. But again, in classic Bond fashion, it's not over yet because they still got a bomb.
Yep.
But he defuses the bomb. But then it's okay. But then lady decides to completely forget she was flying a plane for a moment, and they
that was kind of weird.
They're gonna crash, and so they gotta get off the plane on the car, which they do. But that's
not
really
over
cool.
Yet. That was a really cool scene.
It's not over yet, kids, because we still have Khrushchev and Joe Don Baker to deal with, which leads to one of the dumbest 4 facts in a James Bond movie. It's just, so first it's Joe Don Baker playing with his toys, and then Bond shows up and he's totally prepared for Bond to be there. And then, like an idiot, one of the greatest spies and the guy given a license to kill, when Joe Don Baker has a machine gun with a small little plexiglass covering, Bond's like, I should shoot directly at the plexiglass and nothing. Don't shoot at his legs. Don't literally shoot a little bit higher or to the side. No. Right for the plexiglass. He runs out of bullets, but he's able to kill Joe Don Baker. And then Khrushchev shows up and is like, oh, thank you, Bond. You saved me from these guys. And they're like, no. Because then John Rhys Davies shows up and they're like, we know exactly what you were about, man. We know exactly what you were about. Yes. Then we have another... What is this now? That was 4 fact. Where are we on the 5th act?
We're like the denouement, as they say.
We're like Return of the King in it. We just refuse to end. So she is playing in the orchestra that she's always wanted to play in.
In America.
And then, which, talk about a joke that you couldn't tell in 2022. The Mujahideen show up and they're late because they had trouble at the airport.
I was like,
yeesh, I am really surprised that is still out on DVDs made in the 2010s. But all right, then. It's a funny joke at the time. But she's really upset because Bond isn't there. And that's all she wants. But who's in her dressing room but Bond? Yeah, he's on assignment. Which we didn't talk about that. Bernard Lee, I believe, has now taken over as M.
He has passed. Bernard Lee has passed, and then Robert.
Yes, you're right.
Robert, what's his name? I'm gonna look it up. I can't remember his last name. I know, right? I can't remember. There's so many names.
He's taken over, which I think works because they set up that he was like the head of defense or something in some of the war movies, so they already set him up in the world. So it wasn't really like a complete like, Goryu, it actually kind of makes sense that he would move into M's position, MI6.
Right.
But then she goes, and there's Bond, because like for some reason, instead of just supporting her and being at her show, which would have made her happier, he instead decided to not go to the show. Like, how long was he in the dressing room for? None of that makes sense. But whatever.
He probably snuck into the rafters or something.
Whatever. They make out, and she's never to be seen or heard from again, despite the fact they're in love. And that's Living Daylights. What did you figure about this movie?
I actually
in the
really
messed up way we freaking recapped it.
In the messed up, kind of jumbled up way, but I guess that's the entire James Bond franchise, kind of messed up and jumbled up, and it is in these all little corners of the world. I loved The Living Daylights. Like, I loved the music in here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this was John Barry's last movie where he's conducting.
Couldn't tell you, honestly.
Yes, but I'm pretty sure this was the last movie that he conducted, and he's actually the conductor conducting the orchestra and the end credit scene, which I think is a fun little it's a fun little tidbit that I read. And then this was his last movie he conducted for the Bond franchise, which just imagine, like, he would probably had been there longer than almost anyone but behind the scenes. But what's Q's actor's name? I should know this by now.
I should probably know it too. Give me 1 second. He's now
Desmond Llewellyn.
Yeah, who right now is
Desmond
my most
Llewellyn.
watched actor on Letterboxd
Desmond
because
Llewellyn.
of all these movies.
He has been there for so long. Besides John Barry, of course, this is probably the second longest tenure. Leaving after how many movies? Jeez.
Yeah.
I utterly loved this movie. It's imperfect. Characters sometimes do stupid things, and
the villains aren't the best.
No, the villains aren't the best, but and the romance I think is fine. But I enjoy the character of Kara more so than than the romance in and of itself. But I love the characters, and that's the biggest thing.
Dalton was really good. It has a great big final act, which I really like.
Great final act.
As I said, it's the last of the Cold War movies, and obviously they really had no clue it was going to be, but because of that, it does go out with a bang, and dealing with the Russians and all that. As we stated throughout, like Rambo 3, which was made around the same time. A lot of the stuff doesn't really work today. I like we said, the plane joke doesn't really work. The Mujahideen being the heroes, I can understand how some people are like, I don't really know.
It can still work because it can still be a commentary on like how
it was also made in the 80s, and I also think it's unfair to judge movies made in the 80s by the standards of 2022.
Well, I was going to say is like it can also be interpreted as a standard for Arabic and Muslim individuals who go on airports and how they are probably subject.
No, it is true. Yeah, which is unfortunate. We don't need to get political. I'm just saying because I say that as a pause because I know the possibility of someone watching our show and being like, I'm gonna go watch that movie, and then be like, this is super problematic. So I'm already saying there might be problematic things in this.
Of course.
Hello, Scuba Pete. How are you doing this evening? You missed out on a interesting recap, but we do apologize. Me and Manning are both scatterbrained, and I love this movie, but I don't watch this movie nearly. License to Kill I'm going to be much better on, and I also watched both of these movies on Sunday, which is also why I'm probably not super up on remembering them. But yeah, let's get into License to Kill.
Oh, did someone say there we go. License to Kill. I hate this mirror thing so much. I can't there we go. License to Kill.
Which that's the best poster they have, but the posters still
not great.
To Kill are there again. Like I said, this is the best. The other one they have is it looks like first year Photoshop did. I don't know where the budget went.
Graphic design is my passion.
Honestly, I'll send you a picture of it. That's why I sent you that one, because that's the better one. I honestly think if you take away the girls from there, it's not a bad poster, actually. If you just had Bond
No, it's
and
simple.
the sort of fiery sort of and now I can't remember Sanchez. It could have been cool. But we
Right.
move into this movie, License to
You
Kill.
mean this movie?
Yes,
Okay.
1989. Which 89, just to pause, 89 is an extremely fascinating year for action movies around this time, because around this time you have all coming out around the same time. You get Roadhouse, Batman,
Wow.
Lethal Weapon 2, and License to Kill, which is pretty
Wow.
insane because all different types of action movies. It's a fascinating year for action movies. I've always found that interesting. I'm like, geez, like you going to the movies, you could have seen Michael Keaton debut as Batman. Then you could go and see two Daltons kicking ass. One who wants you to be nice, and the other one's who's all about vengeance. That you can see Mel Gibson and Danny Glover going at it again, fighting South Africans.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, so Manning, what are your general thoughts on this movie?
License to Kill, I think, is a lesser film than The Living Daylights. Personally, not to say that I don't. I love both of them. I'm gonna be frank; they both fantastic films. Not perfect, but I still love them regardless. I think License to Kill is an excellent addition because I think John Glenn himself said this was his best work that he had done. Which I can see that. Technically speaking, there is a lot going on with the sets, with the action, with just kind of the bombastic nature of the globe trotting that they do. I really enjoyed License to Kill, even with its imperfections. I think Dalton is probably the best out of these two. This is the one where he really starts to really shine. I think that the Bond girls, quote unquote, especially the Sanchez's girlfriend or something, is really kind of lackluster. I'm like, really? This entire
I don't know.
thing?
I think Pam is one of my favorite Bond girls.
I think Pam is good, but I don't buy their. I buy that they give off great friendship energy. I did not buy romantic chemistry.
No, we'll get to that at the end. But I'm talking about just as like Bond girls who
a character
are actually badass or like an actual character. Pam's great because she gives shit to Bond. She's able to take care of her. We'll get into one of my favorite scenes with her.
Yes,
but yeah, by the last scene in the movie, they do her a touch dirty, which I guess
they do. I mean, you know, anytime they try to force a romance between her and Bond, it doesn't work for me because I think she really serves the story more as an independent co-worker or an ally.
It's
I think
kind of like For Your Eyes Only, except not as bad. Because at least in For Your Eyes, at least in License to Kill, Dalton does not seem like he could be her father, so it's not that bad. You're like, nah, I can still see you two winding up together. It's fine. But yeah, so we start the movie off. I did not get my general thoughts.
What are your general Matt? What are your general thoughts?
I adore this movie. This is my top 3 Bond films. I love this freaking movie. I have loved it since the day I first saw it. It is such a good movie because it is completely different from, at this moment, really any other Bond movie. It is a vengeance movie. Like, MI6 has really nothing to do with it. He's kind of on his own. It has one of my favorite Bond villains we'll get into. I really like Sanchez, even though which again, it's great that it's like in the relative scheme of things, like he's just a drug dealer, but he's such like a sadistic,
charismatic
bad dude. You know, Robert Davi, who plays him, is that, or am I thinking of another actor?
No, that is him, and he's currently also. I'll quickly say he's also currently doing the My Son Hunter movie. Have you heard about that?
No.
Good, please don't. It's
like
real propaganda.
He was also the year before this. He was Agent Johnson in Die Hard. Just like fucking Saigon. Really? I was in junior high, dick. Yeah, he's Agent Johnson and then Special Agent Johnson. He's one of my favorite parts of Die Hard. Authorization, of the
Oh
United
wow.
States fucking government. He's also one of the brothers in Goonies. He's the one that they break
Yes,
out of
I
jail at the
remember that.
beginning. Yeah, Robert Davi's great. I love Robert Davi and pretty much most of the things he does. I'll tell a story off air, or if we ever review Die Hard in some way, I'll tell a story about him and Schwarzenegger, which is great. But yeah, so the movie. But yeah, I love the movie. I love that it's a vengeance story. I love that it's one of the most low tech Bond movies that exists. Um, it's just a super great movie, and we'll get into it. But
Yeah.
Manning's just looking up Robert Davi's IMDb page because he's realizing how many things he's in. But so
He
we start
is.
off the movie with James Bond and his good friend Felix Leiter, who is
Oh,
now no longer part of the CIA. He is a DEA agent,
yes.
which makes sense. Which makes sense because, like I said, Living Daylights was the last Cold War movie. As a country, we were moving into the this era of the war on drugs. It hadn't quite started. That really started with Bush Senior. Where every arcade game started with
Yep.
winners don't use drugs. I mean, look at me. I'm talking about an era in which I was like -7. Yeah, so it makes sense that it's like the villain's going to be a drug dealer. Let's make Felix a DEA agent, which doesn't seem the weirdest to go from the CIA to the DEA. It doesn't really seem that
U.S. government.
weird. Yeah. But of course, right when James Bond and Felix are supposed to go to the wedding, the DEA agents show up and they're like, we got Sanchez. We got to go get him. At first, he tells Bond, he's like, go to the church, let her know everything. And Bond's like, I'm coming along. He's like, fine, strictly as an observer. It's like, no, okay,
Never.
Bond's going to observe.
Never.
We get introduced to Sanchez in a great scene to where his lady is shacking up with another dude, which I love. One of his opening lines: "What did he promise you? His heart? I'll cut out his heart and give it to her." And then that dude gets taken out, and then he just straight up whips that girl.
Yep. Again.
Woo!
That's violence.
He establishes himself very early that he's like, you don't screw with me at all, which I like. So then we move into they're gonna capture Sanchez. The helicopter is coming in, and Sanchez realizes this, and he pulls a great sort of like trick move to where he jumps out of the car so that they're still chasing the car. By the time they get to the car, Sanchez isn't there. Sanchez, now mind you, by this point, James has a gun and he goes to the car, finds the girl who's essentially like, leave me alone. Sanchez is now in a plane. And they're like, crap. So they got to go after them because in 20 minutes or something, he's going to be in Cuban space and they're not going to be able to do anything, which is true. I'm going to take a pause here. Pete says, always love driving down A1A, the Keys, and seeing the bridge scene, of course, just hanging in Key West. Yeah. Sure, yeah, because this all is taking place in Florida. That's Scuba Pete, who's awesome. Everyone go check out his channel. He's great. But yeah, so they're going after him, and James, let's go fishing, Felix.
Yes.
Great thing that they hook him up. James goes down, hooks the plane up. It flips over. So now they got Sanchez. We also should talk about, there's a great moment when we cut back to the church and Dolly, Felix's
drive around.
Yeah, drive around again. But then James and Felix, they parachute out from the helicopter, and in a great moment I love, they show that Sanchez sees where they're going. I really like that moment. It's a quick moment and you might have missed it, but they do show that Sanchez sees that they're going to a church and that there is a wedding. Like, he realizes, he's like, oh, my mortal enemy is getting married. Interesting.
I didn't even see that. Good.
Yeah, and so they show up at the church, which is great, and everyone's like, oh, this is great. And I love how they're picking up their parachutes, like they're picking up Dolly's dress, which is a great little small moment of comedy. Even though, why did Felix and James not take off their parachutes? Why are they walking into the church with parachutes on?
You know what?
Don't make any sense.
It is bringing work to them.
Yeah, and then we lead into the song, which is my favorite Bond song.
Really?
If you want a Bond song that gets stuck in my head, it's this one in the best way possible. It's just like when I listen to it, I hum it. I think it really fits the movie very well. It's a great theme. It's not the best. Like I'll be perfectly honest. It's not the best. It's not to the levels of a Goldfinger or Skyfall. But it's a really, really good song. And one that I always find myself listening to.
I need to go back and listen to it because I don't remember it really that much.
Good friend of the channel, Dan from I was about to say Nerd Watch, Nerd Build, him and Aaliyah. He once told me that it sounds like elevator music to him, and that killed me inside. But I love you, Dan. I
need to listen to it.
But yeah, so then we cut, and now it's the wedding party at the house. It's a lot of fun, everybody started hanging out. But where's Felix? Where is Felix? He's work. And Dolly goes and says, James, go get him. He's been in that study ever since we came here. So he goes to collect them, and there's this random girl who really doesn't give a shit about Bond, because Bond's like, how you doing? And she's having none of it. She walks out. He's like, I gotta, Dolly's looking for you. Never disappoint a woman holding a knife. But then his DEA agent buddy shows up and is like, hey, I just wanted to stop by, congratulate you. We got Sanchez. You go enjoy the honeymoon. We're gonna take care of this. But right before that, he burns something onto a disc and hides it in a picture of Dolly. Then they go out. There's a great little joke where their other friend had made fish hooks, and she's like, "You're not going fishing on my honeymoon." It's all fun.
It's all fun until
we cut to the DEA holding area, where, although that might have come before this, but essentially they're like telling Sanchez that, like, yeah, you're kind of screwed, and we're gonna take you away, man.
It came before, but oh well.
Oh yeah. We're gonna take you away. So yeah, now we go to the party is ending. It's dwindling down. Everyone's leaving, and Dolly and Felix give James his best man gift, which is a lighter that says
ironic.
Love, what does it say? Love always, Felix and Dolly. Something like that. It says it's engraved something like that.
That is correct.
She pulls out the whatever you call it, I don't even know. Man, you're the one getting married. You should know these things. I don't know what girder or something like that.
Garter, yes.
Yeah, and she says, next person cashes this, gets married, and he's like, no, I'm fine. And then she throws it to him anyway. And she's like, what was that about? And Felix is like, James was married once.
Which I think is an excellent little callback. And I was mentioning before, this is a kind of this shows to me that this is a core aspect of James Bond. Well, at least some interpretations of James Bond, because literally everyone, even more, I don't think Brosnan actually. Did Brosnan?
I don't think Brosnan mentions Tracy, but yeah, she is, for what you would think would be a one-off character. They make Tracy, who again I talked about. It goes back and forth between Pam and Tracy for who's my favorite Bond girl. Like, how much she is really important. We got Pete crying both times because Dolly and Tracy.
Pete, no.
We got him crying about both. But yeah, and also it goes back to something I love, which is the fact that, like, these are all the same guy.
Yes,
they're all the same guy. That's the thing about the Connery to the Brosnan era. They are the same character
with differences.
Some people try to say that, like, oh, it's just a code name. I'm like, no, it's not, because why would Moore be at Tracy's grave, and why would Felix be talking about how Bond had a wife who died? But now Sanchez is being transported, and everything's okay. we got so many guys. It's all fine, except for the fact that one of the DEA agents is a traitor and knocks the driver out, gets the driver,
and
they
Sanchez
pull off Sanchez and him get out.
Right.
And who do they go after? But
Felix and
Felix.
Dolly.
In a really upsetting scene which actually that happens after James leaves, where they go in to consummate the marriage. I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Going to assume.
Yeah. I'm
and then we don't actually even get to see what happens. Felix just gets knocked out and Dolly screams. Then we go to Sanchez escaping, as Pete said, which, of course, Pete's like an actual legit scuba diver. So his name is not just a joke. So, of course, he would love the submarine. So yeah, wow. Which it is a cool submarine. So they get up. Then James he's getting ready to leave. He's going home. He's going back to work. He's had a nice vacation. But then there's a lot of security at the airport, and he's trying to figure out why. And the check-in lady is just like, oh, some drug dealer escaped, and James is out of there. And she's like, sir, your ticket. He goes straight for Felix's house. And unfortunately, finds Felix is not there. And Dolly has been killed.
Well, first off, before we do that, they had already taken Felix at that time, and they had fed him, quote unquote, to the sharks.
Which is a great. So Felix gets brought. I'm sorry, scatterbrained. I thought for some reason that happened after James finds Dolly.
Well, it's because because Felix is there in a body bag.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah. So
I thought he was dead. So I would.
I have to backtrack a little bit. So we have a scene to where Felix gets brought in to this place, and he sees that Sanchez is there. Sanchez has escaped. And then he sees his old DA buddy, who he knows betrays him. And again, Sanchez being a great villain, he's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to make you suffer. That's right. We'll get back to that, Pete. But yeah, so it's a really, really, and in a different way to, and I talked about this when we talked about More, where there were moments where they killed people, particularly women, in really horrific kind of ways. This is horrific in a different way that works way more for the villain and even for the audience, to where they sort of put this giant slab of meat. And the whole thing is the shark's going to eat it, but eventually the weight's going to shift to where Felix is in there, and Felix is, screaming, "Screw you, Sanchez!" Then, of course, now I'm on track. Bond goes back to the house, finds Dolly dead, finds Felix in the bag, and as Pete said, he has a note attached to him, something that ate him disagreed with him. So now,
comment. Well, first off, I want to comment upon this by saying that this, to me, is such a pivotal moment in the Dalton Bonds, because this is Bond at his most human that I have seen since, honestly, I think George Lazenby and Tracy Bond.
I would agree with that.
This hits in a core emotional, obviously, because it sets up he had someone, because this is why it's so poignant, because they now share something where they both lost someone, and that kind of drives Bond through all this kind of vengeance.
They both lost their wives.
They both lost their wife. Yes, they both lost their wife on their wedding day.
They never even got to enjoy marital bliss. But yeah, and so he runs into the study, which is just completely destroyed. He knows where the CD is hidden, and then 911 shows up and everything, and their buddy shows up, who's not like DEA or anything. And so he knows this is Sanchez. So he's trying to figure out how would they have gotten Sanchez out of there. And he's like, well, only with a submarine or something. So he's like, we're going to go find guys who got this stuff. And we get one of the most annoying characters in this movie, who is the shark, the boat guy. He's just an annoying businessman, but he's fine. And the movie acknowledges that he's annoying. James tries to sort of pretend to be some exporter of something. They're like, we're just a research lab.
Yep.
We don't do anything. And Bond is like, yeah, Bond's like, yeah, this is the guy, because that's not retired shark hunting stuff. So he decides that we're gonna go after this guy. But before that can happen, Felix's old DEA partner shows up, calls him Commander, which again, I love when Bond gets called Commander, and he seems like he's gonna help Bond. But then he leads Bond into a trap because there's 2 MI6 agents, and he's like, this doesn't concern your government. We're going to take care of Sanchez. You need to go home. Then we get a scene. Well, we don't know they're MI6 agents because we get a really interesting scene. And I don't know if you picked this up. I picked this up only this first viewing. James is taken to a place that is just full of cats. And we see a guy holding a cat from behind. I think they were trying to make us think that this possibly could have been Blofeld. Because M is holding a cat, and the shots from behind, you don't know if these are MI6 agents, but then
no, you're right. That's probably what they were trying to emulate. I don't know.
I don't know why. But then it's M who's like, so you work for MI6. We had a mission for you. You work for MI6. We have a mission for you. This is a personal vendetta. Let the Americans deal with it. Bond is essentially like, screw you. This is important. So he's like, you have my resignation. And M's like, fine. Your license to kill is revoked immediately. Hand over your pistol.
Credits.
Roll credits. He said it. He said it.
That's
apparently Hemingway's house, and so many cats on that property. So,
oh wow.
I guess I didn't set dress it. But then James escapes, and M doesn't really pursue him at all because it's James
which is
Bond.
Interesting because like I would have liked, the only time we ever see like M even trying to do something is when we had that cutaway with Moneypenny writing that letter that he said to write, and then also that agent who's teamed up with I think Hong Kong or something, and that's it. I would have loved like maybe simultaneously.
I think the sense is that it's like, this is a personal thing. He didn't actually quit. Yes. Like, I think M realizes that he's just like, also it's like, it's James Bond. He's the best agent we have. What's even the point of wasting time and effort on agents to just go and try and capture James? Like, it's not going to work.
Right.
But yeah, so James escapes, and then he's finally able to go and check out this definitely just a research area, and he starts realizing that hidden amongst the maggots or whatever is cocaine, and he's like,
cocaine.
Okay. He gets into a fight with a guy, throws him into the maggots thing. He's able to escape, and this is when I believe we go to the boat, where they're going to be waiting for a transfer the next day.
Yes.
And this is where Sanchez's girlfriend is, who the captain is like creeping on. Bond has snuck on to the boat. By this point, he's in the room with her, because there's that great moment, make a sound and you're dead.
Which, again, I love those little moments because it shows that Roger Moore would never. Roger Moore would have
been like, would you like to make out with me?
He's like, here, come
I
here.
I could be your grandfather. Would you like to kiss me?
We have all the time in the world.
We have all the time in the world. My pension's just started, dear.
Pension's just
You're so mean to Roger. Sir Roger.
Dalton over here just being like,
Dalton's just like, I'm gonna murder you. So then, wait, am I screwing up again?
No, that's right, because this is before
I'm trying
he
to.
met
He
Pam.
doesn't meet up with Pam. Okay, because I'm like,
no, not until
I'm
after.
like, okay, so he figures out that they're going to use the sub and all this stuff, and they're going to move the money. Then he meets with Pam, because I feel like we meet Benicio del Toro before the whole plane scene happens. I believe. I could be wrong about the sequence of events.
So the thing is that Bond, remember Bond steals the 5,000 while he is there, and he's going to track Sanchez to where is the
Well, does
Republic
he
of
meet with Pam after he steals the money?
Yes, it was after the money when he goes into the bar.
So first we get a great action scene to where he's trying to escape because they've realized he's there. The plane has dropped off the money. The plane has done the exchange of the money and the cocaine. Bond goes, gets in the plane. Great scene where he sees the money.
He's
it's
smiling.
in our opening where he's smiling, he throws it. Then he goes to the bar because Felix had a meeting with someone. He doesn't know who, and goes in the bar and he sees the same redheaded agent. Goes, sits down. She recognizes him, and he's like, "Yeah, Felix, like he's out of commission, everything." She's great, like in this scene, to where she's just like, "All right, fine." She's like,
I will.
Are you carrying? And he's like, Walter PPK. And she's like, "Oh, cute."
Oh,
she's got a nice shotgun.
And which is why I will add, I think Pam as a character is really interesting and really kind of like has, I don't remember any other Bond girl, whatever you want to call them at this moment, a counterpart who has brought it back to him so much at this point in the game. Yeah. And I loved that. I love that we actually had someone who's not afraid to just kind of go at him like this.
Yeah,
you know?
And then we get introduced to a very young Benicio del Toro in one of his first movies.
I was like,
yeah, and he shows up and he knows who Pam is. He doesn't know who Bond is. That's the thing. They don't yet, which is very important. They don't know who James Bond is, but they know who Pam is because it's clear. I don't think they ever state if Pam is a DEA agent, but she definitely is like a government agent.
Yes, she's a government agent for the U.S. That's all we know.
So they know that we got a incredibly fun bar fight. Shotguns and James grabbing onto some little spinny thing, kicking into a dude. She blows a hole in the wall so that they can get to James's boat, and then they're escaping, and his boat runs out of gas because the tank was shot. To which Pam is like, "Nah, well, how likely was that, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, so I'm going after Sanchez." No, she's like, "Oh, so you're going after Sanchez?" She's like, "Yep." She's like, "How many people you got?" He's like, "Just you and me." And she's like, "All right." And then he decides to make out with her. And she's like, totally not against it. But I mean, their boat's dead. So what do you do?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like that was when I first was like, you guys literally, there was no like build up. That's why I never felt they had chemistry. They had no romantic.
It's just like the movie's telling us we should have a makeout.
Yeah,
here, so you should
make
out here.
It felt very telegraphed because sometimes Bond will have chemistry with his counterpart. In this one, I always got like really like good friend energy from them, and I was like, that's unfortunate that you guys had to do that, but you could have just made the other girl the Bond girl. I don't know.
But so then we move on.
Bond girl.
They fly into Cuba. I believe it's Cuba. And they check into the hotel in which Pam is James's executive secretary.
That was fun.
Why can't you be my executive secretary? And it's like, honey, you know where we are? That's not going to work. He's all acting like a super cocky rich guy. And he's like, go dress the part. And then he goes to deposit his money at Sanchez's bank. Which they're all like, hey, we love money. Sure, come here. And he's also like, make sure I have a line of credit at the casino, which is going to come back very soon. To where they go to the casino. Because the whole thing is he wants Sanchez to find out about him. He doesn't want Sanchez to know he's James Bond, but like the whole...
Thank you, Scuba Pete. I agree. Just wanted to throw that out there. They're more BFF. Please continue.
But yeah, so the whole thing is like he wants Sanchez to he doesn't want him to know that he's like Felix's best friend, but like he wants him to eventually know. That's like the whole plan.
It's the long con.
Yeah, so he goes to the casino with Pam. They start playing. He's playing extremely well, winning a lot of money, and they're like, Sanchez takes notice of that, so he sends his girlfriend down. And he sends Pam away in one of the meanest ways to say he wants a martini, shaken, not stirred.
The
And
meanest time he's ever said it.
she's pretty much telling him, she's like, get out now, like leave. And he's like, that's not gonna happen. And then Sanchez's little goons come and they take James to go and meet with Sanchez, which leads to, they pat him down, they find a gun, and one of my favorite exchanges in a Bond movie. What do you have this for? In my line of work, you plan for the unexpected. What are you, some kind of problem solver? More of a problem eliminator, which is great. And so Sanchez is kind of enjoying this guy. He's like, okay, this guy's cool. And we also should also say that there's some Asians who are there who are like, they're producing the opium. And so there's like this whole deal going on.
They are like, I believe, Hong Kong conglomerates of some moguls. Like,
and there's also this like televangelist guy who is a part of it. Who's great.
The Tim Baker knockoff.
And they sort of use him to be able to sort of find a way to funnel money to where it just looks like donations, because that's the whole thing. Is they're like, 500, they're all into the price and everything. And so Sanchez likes Bond, and he's like, this is a cool guy. There is, however,
I will say one thing. I really enjoy Sanchez's character based upon, he says a line early on. It's like he says he values loyalty above all else. And you don't really see that in any other Bond films. They kind of like will kill people like willy-nilly. He doesn't kill unless he's given the reason to. And when he decides to go for it, he goes for it.
Yeah, so then we move into the next night to where Bond's gonna kill. Well, before that, Pam and him are going back to the hotel room, and they're like, someone's in there.
Oh,
like, who is it?
That was a great scene.
Q. Because of course Q's there. Because Moneypenny has been so scared. He was doing some tests or something nearby, so she got Q to go and take care of Bond, of course.
Right.
He gives him some tech to be able to go and kill Sanchez, because that's his whole thing. Is like, I'm gonna kill this dude. And he feels like he has the perfect setup time to where he's like, I know Sanchez is gonna be there with these guys. We can kill him. There's the one businessman who, I forget the actor, but he's in something else. I forget. I forget what else he's in.
The narcotics guy from Hong Kong?
Yeah. I don't want to say he's Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, but that might be the same actor. I don't know offhand. He's in something else. He's in another movie. But actually, I should probably just look it up. Manning, talk about this scene while I try and figure out where I know this actor from.
So at this point now, he attempts an assassination that is foiled by other agents, Hong Kong narcotics agents, I believe. And at this point,
but he also sees Pam was meeting with one of Sanchez's guys.
Pam is meeting, so you believe there's some suspicious nature going on simultaneously, but he's foiled before he can really do anything. Ultimately, he is captured by these agents, and they are going to turn him back into the MI6, because there is an MI6 agent also there. Finally,
I was right. Yeah, he's Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat from '95.
Hey, nice pull. And then finally, Sanchez, they find him, they open fire, and Bond is the only survivor.
And they think that Bond pretty much makes it work out to where he's like, he essentially makes it like, I was protecting you. These guys, and he's like, because there's a thing between Sanchez and Shang Tsung to where it's like, there's kind of like
I don't trust him.
Friction, so it just leads more to like, oh, this dude definitely, and he's like, you're a good dude, Bond. I'm going to take you back to my beautiful island mansion.
Yeah, wow. Look at that. Bond villains with their money.
And Bond's just like, all right, sounds cool. I'm all right with this. So he's there. He pretty much immediately is like, I got to go because I got to meet up with Pam and Q. He leaves thanks to the chick who's like completely into him, even though he's not really into her at all. But I also feel like she's just like, I need literally anyone to get me away from this dude. So you seem like a really good choice. Kind of ish. We'll talk about who she might end up with at the end of this movie. But
her character is one of my least favorite parts.
So now they decide they're essentially going to make Sanchez just lose all his connections, but make it seem like it makes sense, because now they go back to the boat, and they, as everything's supposed to come in, and they plant the money, because that's the whole thing, is the money was just gone, and they're like, which again is continuing the seeds of deception in Sanchez, that he thinks something's screwy, because where did this money go?
And that's a great thing that Dalton's Bond does. He plants, and Scuba Pete just said that, planting the seed of doubt in Sanchez. He plants these seeds of doubt because he's someone who values loyalty so much that, because if someone is not loyal, that's going to mess with his mind.
Yeah, and it's really, really good. And so he plants the seeds of deception, and he's like, all right, I know what's going to happen here. He essentially makes it look like the captain stole the money and kept it for himself. And he already had some problems with this dude. But now he's like, oh, yeah, you stole my money. You want it? You can have it. Throws him into the chamber, shuts the door, and starts turning the pressure on the dude. And
jeez.
What a very brutal kill. And Bond doesn't seem to care whatsoever. No. Bond doesn't seem to care at all. So then we move on to where do we move on from here? Because they go back, and Bond is back at the he's back at the sort of island paradise. They were able to sort of get him back there, because then the whole thing is they're going to take Bond to Wayne Newton, which I just looked up when I was looking up Chang Soon. Wayne Newton plays the televangelist dude. They're going to take him to where they essentially are their processing plant for the cocaine.
Yes,
which is at this like wonderful
retreat resort type of place,
monastery thing, and they're all there.
It's a front.
And they're showing them that how they're going to be able to transport the cocaine is they've created this process to where they can turn it into gas.
But who is there, Matt? Who is there?
Benicio del Toro is there.
Dario.
Where has he been this entire movie?
I don't know.
Because if he showed up a little bit earlier, Bond's plan is sort of screwed. But I guess it's a good thing that he was somewhere else. But yeah, and so Bond is like serious trouble. Thankfully to him, even pre-COVID-19.
Bless your heart. I love that was the guys.
Bless your heart. Thankfully, even pre-COVID-19, they decide that wearing masks in a giant crowd is the best thing to do, because that's how Bond is going to be able to hide. At the same time, Pam has showed up to the monastery. She's come from the where is it? It's like Michigan or Kentucky or something, from the parish, and they've brought the money. And Wayne Newton's like, come, sister, I can certainly help you with that. Money. I can certainly help you with
his teeth.
And he takes her into his private prayer room, and she pulls out a gun, and it's great. And he doesn't even seem to care. He's just like, bless your heart. Of course, Bond realizes that Del Toro is like recognizing him, and he's like, time to make an escape. So he sets fire to the whole thing, and the whole thing is going up in smokes. Everything's exploding. Everything's it's going huge. Manning has to step away for a second, so I'll just continue to explain this, and then when you get back. So everything's blowing up. It's going huge. Big Bonds. Wayne was so good as a huckster. He's great. He's wonderful. I like him in Vegas Vacation as well. But everything is blowing up, and they're trying to escape. By this point, everything's just like completely screwed up. I do want to pause for a moment. Before Manning comes back, because there's really no point in me continuing with this movie. So, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I know Scuba Pete's in the chat, but if anyone else is in the chat, feel free to ask questions about License to Kill or any of the other Bond movies, and I'll try to answer them as I entertain everybody. As I entertain this. Oh Lord. What would Arnold sound like as James Bond? Let's do that for a quick second. Lol, the name is Bond. James Bond. I'm a spy. Can you believe it? I got the license to kill. I got the tuxedo just like I had in True Lies. But Jamie Lee Curtis is not in the movie. It's so good. And Wayne was there. He was like, bless your heart. It was so good. It was so fantastic. Robert Davi was there. It's so great. It's so wonderful. You know why? Because I'm Bond. Just who I am. They should have cast me as James Bond. That would have been amazing. I'd still be amazing. I don't know how good of a spy I would be, but I was a good Terminator. So I don't quite know where I'm going with this. This is what happens when you live stream shows. And normally this would just be cut out, but unfortunately we can't cut this out. So it's going to be interesting on the replay when we come back to this. How would Steven Seagal be James Bond? You might be above their Bond, but you're not above my Bond. Okay? You bring drugs into my country, I'm going to kill you. Watch how I run. You guys ever realize that Seagal like flails his arms when he runs? It's really weird for an action star, but no one at any point was like, hey, Steven, try just putting your hands up a little bit. Wouldn't that be better? I'm just talking about random things now. Timothy Dalton was in Hot Fuzz with Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg was in Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. Or he was in Mission Impossible 3 with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise was in A Few Good Men with Kevin Bacon. That's how Timothy Dalton and Kevin Bacon, that's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. How many degrees is that? Let's see, to Simon Pegg, to Cruise. It's 3. It's 3 degrees of bacon that Timothy Dalton is.
Dalton, yes, what?
I was trying to fill the time, so I did 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with Timothy Dalton, and it's 3. It's 3 degrees because it's Dalton is in Hot Fuzz with Simon Pegg, who was in Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, who was in A Few Good Men with Kevin Bacon.
Oh, nice. That's actually really good. Good job.
Yeah. So we will continue, and we'll try and fast forward because I know we're really going long on only 2 movies.
Are, yes.
But yeah, so everything's blowing up. Sanchez's like partner is like, this is totally screwed. We're like going to lose our money. And Sanchez is like, I really don't care. But they capture Bond and they're like, we're gonna kill him. We're gonna use this rock crusher thing. You get another great moment to where he's like, when you get down to your ankles, you're gonna beg, you're gonna tell me everything. When you get to your stomach, you're gonna wish I'd kill you.
You're gonna beg,
but of course,
beg or something.
He's able to hold on. Benicio del Toro is left behind to make sure everything's taken care of. But then Pam shows up, and then Del Toro gets thrown into the rock crusher instead, which is just even thinking about it right now,
screams.
My legs are hurting just thinking about it. Then a great little moment of comedy to where Bond's like, "Shut down the bloody machine." So now they're trying to escape with the cocaine that they already have loaded up on some of the tankers. Pam and Bond go. Bond jumps on, takes control of one of the tankers. Whole bunch of stuff happens. So really just fast forwarding through this because we've been going a long time. Essentially, finally comes down to Bond and Sanchez. And Sanchez essentially is just like, what would have compelled you to like come after me and do all this? And Sanchez is now covered with gasoline, and he shows Sanchez the lighter from Felix and Dolly right before he sets him ablaze.
What I will add about this entire thing before Sanchez's ultimate death is that this might be one of my favorite quote unquote car/truck chases in a movie.
It's great.
I have ever seen. Like there is something about this that feels so like it feels expansive, but because they're in a desert, obviously you're not like trying to cut between all this like buildings usually where car chases usually take place, but it's actually just in the desert, and it's a lot of jumping from one place to another. And use of the trucks, I think, is really cool. It's really well edited.
The music's really good.
The music's great.
It's a really great action sequence. And so he's able to kill Sanchez in a really brutal way. He sets him on fire. And then there's like a party going on at Sanchez's former island area.
Sure.
Because the president owns it now, I guess. Sanchez's girlfriend shows up and kisses Bond, which makes Pam all upset. And he's like, I gotta go. And I guess that chick's gonna be with the president now.
Why not?
And Pam's crying, and James jumps into the water, and he pulls her into the water, and they make out because they were definitely in love. And that's how License to Kill ends.
Really lackluster ending. I'm not gonna lie. Which is sad because I loved everything leading up until that last little party transpires. Because Pam,
it seems so out of character that she would like it's fine if she would be like pissed off about it,
roll her eyes or something.
But the running away and crying in the corner by myself.
Well, they try to set that up with her being upset because this other girl came in and she's being all like, "Well, where's your Bond?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, what are you going with this?
Whatever. But it ends a great movie. Like I said, one of my favorite Bond movies. Really good vengeance story, which is great, and unfortunately, a great movie for Dalton to go out on, but probably shouldn't have been the movie he went out on.
No, it shouldn't have. And this entire fiasco with this 6-year hiatus
stuff.
This ridiculous legality. I think it stole from us what could have been. When we get to Brosnan, I'll talk my praise of him because I really love Brosnan as Bond. But I would have loved to have seen what Dalton's GoldenEye was like. I would have loved to have seen what that could have been. Just curiosity's sake.
It's unfortunate, but
it's unfortunate that Roger Moore didn't relinquish his thing sooner, and that all this stuff happened because I think Dalton, because this is the first time I ever watched Dalton, this might be probably these might be my favorite back-to-back Bonds that I've seen, because usually it's sporadic in my love for them, but this is the best back-to-back that I've seen for any of the Bonds so far that we've watched.
He's really good. I already said it. I think he's the best actor to play Bond. I think these are great movies. These are both in my top 5. I really enjoy them. I don't really have much more to say about it. We've been both very scatterbrained throughout this. Unfortunately, I do apologize. Next month's episode, I will do more due diligence to pay closer attention to the movies as I'm watching them, even though I've seen them before, because I do have the unfortunate proclivity of sometimes tuning out just mentally when I've already seen a movie at several times, so I can't remember all these things. So I do apologize to our audience watching. But I'm really happy that, just through doing this, man, and you were able to finally see these movies, because that is the thing. Yes. Unfortunately, I feel like the Dalton movies were never on TV growing up, probably due to their darker nature. It's a lot easier to show. And also the fact that just like, I also feel like Brosnan's movies were really the ones that were on TV just because he was the newest Bond at that point. And so it just kind of made sense that the Saturday Night movie would be, and Connery was the classic, so they're great movies. If you haven't seen them, go watch them. They're less scatterbrained than me and Manny made them seem to be. They're a lot more straightforward. They're very low techie Bond movies, which if you're not into that, you won't enjoy them. If you like more of the Moonrakers, you're not going to be a fan. But if you really like Craig stuff, Brosnan was Craig before. Dalton was Craig before Craig. So if you really love like Casino Royale and Skyfall and stuff, go and watch these movies.
And that's yes. And that's what I was going to add too, is that I feel like he was very much pre-Bond, pre Daniel Craig, as you were saying. He definitely is the closest that we've gotten to those darker natures of that character. I'm curious as to, because I know you're not the biggest Craig fan, and I'm not sure if that's if that's Craig's performance or if that's his films, but I'm curious as to, because I found lots of parallels between them, and this is one of actually your favorites for these two, or both of your favorites, I should say. So I can't wait till we get to that to discuss that further, because I'm curious as to where that
my reasons as to Dalton's darker take, and reasons why I enjoy it more than Craig's. But we'll get to that in 2 episodes. The final 2 episodes, actually. Because, pretty soon, I don't know when we'll be able to do it. We don't have a set date or time. We will be
September.
Next, we will be covering the films of Pierce Brosnan, his quadrilogy of movies, who is my favorite Bond. Just let that be known. So I'm really looking forward to going back and watching all his movies again, because I really love that man.
What's funny?
Yeah.
Oh, what's funny is that we're getting to our 2 favorite Bonds. Your favorite Bond coming up, and my favorite Bond afterwards. So this will be really interesting, honestly, to see how we do that. Because again, I know you're not the biggest Craig fan. However, I do like Brosnan a lot. So even though I don't love his films, I love him.
There'll be interesting discussions, for certain. So be sure to follow Take 3 on Twitter at Take 3 Video, and join our Facebook group so you can get all the updates about that. If you aren't subscribed here, subscribe here. Normally, I would say share run these videos, but I'm not sure if this is our best outing in this series. So share the 3 previous episodes where me and Manning were a little bit less scatterbrained about it. But if you did enjoy this video, comment, like, share, do all those things. Check out the other great content we have on here. Manning, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Cine_man. That's CINE_MANN. For where I post regularly, just kind of bringing in discussions. I'm bringing back Gone with the Wind. We'll be making its triumphant return next week with its lost episode. Ooh, an episode I recorded like months ago and never got around to editing. So, and then the week prior after that, Gone with the Wind will be returning. So get ready for that. I'll be hyping that up as closer we get into that. And for this episode, I know that we'll be closer into September, probably like near this time, near the end of September, I think might be our best bet for getting the next one. Because I like this time, because we literally are doing this on the last day of August, which is weird because we got it in though. We got it in our schedule still.
We did.
And I will add though that also, I think Bond's leaving Prime for some reason. Because because when I was watching it this week, it said only a few days left for Dalton's, but I don't know if that's for all of them or just Dalton.
Thankfully, I own all of Brosnan's movies, so I'm fine. But when it comes to Craig, I'm in trouble. Darn you, Amazon Prime! You seemed like such a great thing.
I know, right? So
hopefully, look. So long as Craig's movies are all there, then I'm fine. Or else I'll have to go and rent them.
I'm gonna find out right now if they are still there, and if they're not.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll do my plugs. You guys, please, as always, can follow me on Twitter at currents_Matthew, Matt Movie 611 on YouTube, and right here as host of Second Look, the Fandom Podcast, and co-host of Simple Tricks and Nonsense with Abe Flores. Me and Abe will be doing some episodes hopefully soonish. The last episode probably that we record probably won't come out because it's like a next to impossible edit. And I don't want to just release it because it's unfortunately it was a lot of Abe's internet froze up, my internet froze up, and then Abe had to step away for a moment. It's just a lot. I don't know. I'll talk to Abe. Hopefully we'll get some more episodes out to you guys. But you can always find me continuing in the last 2 episodes of a retrospective on James Bond, as well as I pop up on Rankum, as well as other things. I know Rankum this week is going to be top 12 Star Wars performances. It's going to be this Saturday, so be sure to check that out. I don't want to end before before Manning finds what he was looking for. I can't end.
Well, the funniest thing is that some Bond films will be leaving. Like Quantum of Solace will be leaving, Casino Royale will be leaving, but No Time to Die and Skyfall will not.
That's two of the ones I need.
I don't know why. And Spectre is still only to buy and rent for now, so it wasn't even on there. So I don't understand.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I might as well.
It doesn't make any sense.
Whatever. Thanks, Amazon.
Yeah, I don't know.
So helpful. So yeah. So I feel like we can end this one here, and
we sure
we'll see you guys on the next one.
See y'all. Bye-bye. Wait, I'm not gonna exit yet. You know what I'm gonna do first, like we usually do? This.